Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule of the Galaxy fans, welcome back to a special edition of the Rule of the Galaxy podcast. It is Joe in the pilot's seat as usual, and this will be episode 283. We're on the path 300, on the path to 300 shows. I can't believe that. As usual, like, subscribe, follow us YouTube, your podcast platform of choice. Tell your friends about us. We're a bunch of mostly guys from Indianapolis, except for our friend D-Doc, who lives out in Philly. And you know what? We're going to hop right in with this one. We've got two special guests. One's with us right now. One will be here shortly. And this guy we met at the ICCC, if I'm not mistaken, in Nashville, Tennessee. And I've got pictures of him when I walked in the place. I had to get a picture with him because he was Darth Maul when I walked in. So our friend of the show, who's been on the show a number of times, Mr. Rick Prince. How you doing, Rick?
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Love being on Rule the Galaxy podcast, and congratulations on, what'd you say, 298, 283?
283.
283, yeah, on your way
Yeah.
to 300, man. That's a big number.
It is. It is. Our good friends who you probably met at ICCC, the Hyperspace Heroes podcast, they just hit their 100th this week. So really excited for them. They're a good group of guys, but looking at us and thinking, holy cow, we've been doing this long, that we have this many shows under our belt, and the amount of guests we've had just blows me away. And thank you as always for, I think this is like your third or fourth time being on our show. And let's just backtrack it a little bit, because like I said, I think ICCC is coming up here in what, 2
October.
months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got a new venue. They're back at the Music City Sheraton, I believe, which is a great historic local venue for cons here in Nashville. Quite a few have had a lot of like consumer fan side success there.
Okay.
So it's a great place, and they're back in Nashville proper. They were out in Lebanon, which is a giant venue last time.
Huge.
But it was a little bit further out of the city. So we're excited to welcome them back. Yeah, that was our first meeting.
Yeah.
Star Wars. We always got something to talk about Star Wars, right?
That's right. Always got something to talk about. And I was, I of course went to Celebration a few times before I went to ICCC. The last one was in 2019 in Chicago that I went to. I have a hard time traveling to all those far-flung ones all over the place, but going from the Celebration and then hopping down to ICCC and feeling that same vibe, but just so much more packed, so much more energy, because it's not so spread out, it's not so corporate. You're just there with friends and pals, and we were kind of 2022. We were in that little tiny room for podcasts, which was great. Last year, like you said, again another great location for us, but we weren't in the main hall, so we were hundreds of yards away from where all the action was going when we were doing the show, and then we'd have to traipse back over. But our guys in the Rule of the Galaxy crew, they liked it because we passed by the beer stands and the fried foods going back and forth. So that was a good win for them.
Yeah,
but,
pros and cons, man. Pros
that's right.
And cons.
That's right. So you're located in Nashville, right?
I am still currently in Nashville, Tennessee. Yes.
Okay. And for those of you watching us on YouTube, you can see some of the work that Rick does or has done behind him. As you can see an Ithorian, you see Darth Maul back there. Like I said, when I first met Rick, he was Darth Maul. I walked up and said, I have to get a picture with you. And it was amazing. But that's one of the main reasons for this show that we're doing today. Our other guest, Mark Mulcaster from the Making Tracks and Fantha Tracks podcast, he works a lot with Rebel Legion in England. And I see your 501st Legion shirt there. I just wanted to give people a shout out and a chance to really learn more about what it takes to be involved with one of those groups and all the things you do, and the work not only for you personally, but what the organizations do and everything. So I wanted to take this time just to kind of focus. I mean, we could talk about any Star Wars topic you want, but I really wanted to give you guys the time and the platform to say, here's how much work we put into it. Here's the effort. Here's all the things that people don't see behind the scenes when they just see us showing up at a con or whatever. So really, if you want to give a background, I know you've done that before with us. Let everybody know what got you into it, how long you've been involved, all the kind of different ins and outs of you being involved with the 501st?
Sure. Now, I am going to preface this with letting all of your listeners know that I am not the 501st historian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in charge of the holocrons or the libraries or the databases. So, if you want to know when they were founded and all the details of COOs and all that good stuff, definitely check us out, though. 501st Legion. It is Vader's Fist. That is a name derived from the Star Wars franchise itself. For those of you who aren't very familiar with Star Wars, I'll try to make this a little more broad since we have a moment to talk.
Yeah,
Before we get into the Rebel Legion side, which is good guys and bad guys. So
sure.
the 501st and Vader's Fist, they are bad guys doing good is the moniker. So
Love it.
it's a great thing. We love that, and that is the mission. If you're looking at our mission statement as a in short, that would be it. It's a way to represent the Lucasfilm, now Disney, full proper Star Wars brand as authentically, and in the movie universe, we say canon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how deep your listeners run. That may be just common knowledge, but to keep it canon means you're keeping consistent with all the films or the registered volume of lore. So in Star Wars, it's the movies, it's the animated series, it's the television series now on Disney Plus, and then the books and some of the other things have been taken out of that. So what we try to do is dress and look like and make costumes that represent screen accurate characters. So there is a criteria that you have to meet that says you qualify to be a representative of this big nonprofit organization. That's ultimately
Mm-hmm.
what it is. It's a big nonprofit that goes out to different charities, children's hospitals, and I've been kind of remotely working with the 501st for more than a decade, but I didn't join up until probably 2 years ago, shortly before I met you.
Okay.
The ICCC was the first real registered public outing in the Darth Maul Episode 1 costume that I put together. So I've done a bunch of different characters over the years, but I never did one that was certified or qualified to be in the 501st. I didn't log on. I didn't register. So that's all you really have to do is go to their website, check it out, the rules, the database, the things that you would have to do. There's a CRL, a costume reference library, where you can go and look, and it shows you pictures of all the different things, the buckles, the gloves, the boots of any character that might exist on the bad guy side.
Okay.
Now, when we talk later with our other guest, it's going to be the Rebel Legion, which will be the good guy side.
Right.
So I have an affinity for the bad guy side. Just most of the time, their design is just cooler. So
No.
from Cobra to Skeletor to aliens, whatever it is, and then specifically in Star Wars, there's some great good guy designs. I love the Hammerhead. I love the Millennium Falcon as far as ship designs. But when you get into some of the other things, the angles and the lines on the bad guy stuff, I just generally that's my flavor.
No, I
So
get you.
yeah, so I decided I wear a mean set of horns because of my haircut, and so it's easy to glue things to my bald head for those just listening. And so I've been the Night King, I've been Darth Maul, and then finally I decided, I see these guys all over every time I'm at an event because I get called separately. So for those of our listeners that aren't aware, my name is Rick Prince. I was on Face Off Season 5. It's on Netflix. If you haven't tuned in to the Rule the Galaxy podcast before where we talk more about that, definitely check out those previous episodes. But I'm a special effects artist and filmmaker. So I've spent 20, 25 years professionally as a special effects guy, building sets and things. And then I've transitioned my career into writing, producing, and directing films. But during that, I'm still a fan. And so this is the biggest part of it that I can say to your viewers and listeners is that it's a community. It's a place where if you love Star Wars and you want to talk Star Wars, here's your tribe.
Right.
So you can you go to the website as the initial place where most people may be familiar with the 501st is at the convention.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a guy dressed up as Darth Vader, the Emperor, the Stormtroopers, wherever you see the Star Wars people, generally that's where the 501st guys, you'll see a lot of guys in shirts like mine that you'll look for the logos and things.
Yep.
You'll see the representation, and those are almost always, at least as far as what we're doing, free things. You go up, you get your picture made. You can enter little contests. You can learn about the lore. We're just there as ambassadors of a nerd culture part that features Star Wars. That's really it. We're just there to tell you about the stuff that we think is cool. You think it's cool? We'll come on in. We'll hang out. We'll build some armor together. We'll get you suited up. If you don't know how, we'll show you how. And that's really what it is. It's a group of people that have decided that they like the bad guys' design better and they want to dress up as bad guys, and that they can do a good thing by doing that. So bad guys doing good. And that's, in short, what the 501st is about.
That's fantastic. I love the kind of the moniker there. You know, the bad guys doing good, and I think you're right. Like most people, I would say, who are Star Wars fans, um, while I'm a Kenobi and Skywalker guy, right? That's my niche. That's Captain Rex. Like he's my go-to. You know, those kind of guys, they're my go-tos. But man, when Vader walks in and starts slashing people in the hallway in Rogue One, you're going, this is freaking cool, right? I mean, there is something about their ships. There's something about their weapons. There's something about their look, their mystique that just sets different. You don't have to be a fan of theirs, but you do have to admit they're pretty cool in what they do.
Yeah,
So
I'm not supporting what they're about. I just think they look neat. But
exactly.
here's a very true story, and this is what has me potentially swapping allegiances. So I think last year we had the premiere at
Hmm.
ICCC of Journey to the Dark Side.
Yes.
Since then, we have filmed a sequel to that, where I reprise my role as Maul, and this time it's a cybernetic lower half that I have to put on.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun for this new one, but being in that role, doing those things, and then specifically, twice I've been to children's hospitals. All right,
okay.
so I'm walking down the hallway,
Right.
and what I hear from the hallway is El Diablo, Los Muertos. Like, dude, I did not put it together. Some people didn't watch Star Wars,
Sure.
and you're in a hospital and people are concerned for their health and safety, and what effectively looks like a red and black devil
Hmm.
walks through the hallways. I was like, you know what? Maybe it's time for a change, just so it's easier to do. So what I started working on initially, and what I've got in development here, is a scout trooper from
Okay.
Return of the Jedi. So I've got a nice white, clean bucket to wear. There's also, we'll talk more about the reason for changing over to a helmet. But this one's clean, white, doesn't have the rump pads, so I can actually sit down. So there's a lot of convention-friendly reasons that I chose to do that. But most specifically, it was to, one, maintain my 501st qualifications to be in the 501st, pick a bad guy character and get it built to spec. And then the other part was to choose something that may be less scary to the general audience. I just did not factor that in when you're going into a care facility
Sure.
that some people may not have seen episode one
No,
or the
I
Clone
gotcha.
Wars or, Solo or any of the places where he's featured at any point. So I was like, well, let me pick something less scary for these environments. But that also, after being Darth Maul in the Journey to the Dark Side Ascension, which is the sequel you could check out at the ICCC coming up this October. These are films done by a buddy of mine, so it's going to premiere. But I was Darth Maul as the character as an actor, which is a new thing that when I'm
Mhm.
on screen on Face Off, I'm me. I'm just doing what I do.
Right.
But having to be and channel and inhabit that character for a while, I had a little bit of a divide of relating to actors who would be telling me that, and I didn't have that firsthand experience. And after having to be someone with all that going on inside and the things that we wrote in the script as a dialogue between Kylo Ren and Darth Maul,
Hmm.
it is intense, and it took me a good week or so to kind of get out of that headspace. Um, and I decided also, I was like, well, I may join the Rebel Legion. I think I may purge my kyber crystal, let some of that hatred go. I'm already going to a different. I'm stormtrooper, so I can eat dinner with everybody instead of having to. Because it takes,
Sure.
for those that don't know, it takes me about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to get into Darth Maul. It's an all alcohol based makeup appliance. The horns go on, all the detail of all the lines being so meticulous. It takes a while to do because I'm doing it myself in the mirror.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Is do you have someone to help you, but yourself? Fun,
Nah,
great.
it's me, and a lot of times, you're getting up, you're getting ready for the con. It's a thing that we all do. So I'm the same as all. And when we go to Dragon Con en masse or ICCC or any of these cons, you're in your hotel room. Sometimes you've got a buddy, and you can swap up, and I'll do your
Hmm.
makeup, you do mine. But it's also one of those things that I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and if it's going to be out there as the front-facing thing on the 501st, it's going to be me that does it just for me. It's on my face for this one
Sure.
because I've done it for my whole life. Like I don't need to change that. I have let other people do it though, and it's been fantastic. We went to IMATS, International Makeup Artist Trade Show, and my friend from Face Off, Eddie Haleko. If you look on my social media at Rick Prince on Instagram, scroll back a little bit, you'll see we did the Clone Wars version with the digi legs, the stilts to legs that
Yeah.
he gets right after Mother Talzin
Yeah.
kind of heals him. So we did a version of it's basically a sideshow collectibles, and this is the reason that I'm episode 1 Darth Maul in the 501st. I wanted to come into the game strong. I love coming with a unique character, so I was like, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna join the 501st as Clone Wars Darth Maul. Nobody's doing this one.
Mm.
There's one or two other people, actors, makeup artists that are out, and you'll see pictures of one of them is at the urinal with your boy Kenobi. He's standing there as Darth Maul with the big digi leg, so he's like 7 feet tall, and Kenobi's down there. And it's just a picture of them at the bathroom at a convention, effectively, just posed for this shot. But there's a couple of other people that have done it, but none in the 501st. So I was like, let me do this one. But I based it off a sideshow collectible figure, which is an incredible figure. It's like the best of all worlds. But back to earlier, it's not canon.
Mm.
So he still had the big horns,
Right.
but he had the droid legs. And so as he gets the droid legs, his horns scale down. Like if you know the episodes
Gotcha.
like we
Yeah.
do, like it's oops, I missed it by that much. So
Wow.
put all this work into doing this big elaborate thing, and was like, oh, I should have read that a little bit better, I guess, in the CRL. Because if you're not doing it right, it looks fantastic. We love it. It's awesome. Hang around, but on the other side of the table, you got to be
Oh,
a canon guy to be over here. So it was a little
oh,
heartbreaking.
wow.
It was a little heartbreaking. So I went back, and we can talk more about the journey to finishing a real certified level 3 costume if you want to talk more about that.
So, looking at it, obviously, I know there's probably thousands of people who go, well, I went to Galaxy's Edge and they're selling Jedi outfits, and everything there. Can I just buy those and be a part of a group? I don't know. I mean, obviously, you're looking into the Rebel Legion, so I will ask Mark later. But do you think there's people out there who think it's just as simple as going and buying a mask or going and buying something that looks like the emperor's hood that he wears and showing up as something like that? I mean, it takes, like you said, a lot of work, a lot of detail, and it has to be meticulous. They're not going to let you, as you stated, stand on that other side of the table if it's not where they want it to be, right?
Right. Let me give you, for the viewers, I can give you a quick look, and we'll not spend a lot of time on the visuals for the people who are just listening. So
Sure.
I will show you two quick examples of, here's one, and I'll show up my Maul double-bladed saber, and the
Yeah.
audience can see that this is nice and chrome and pretty badass. This is a NeoPixel, um, and it's a double blade, so it's very long. I've got a couple of different blade attachments, but if you look at this one, it's shiny and it's awesome, but that's not canon. This is canon.
Gotcha.
The brushed aluminum, and then also which part of the story are you in? Because this one is later on in Clone Wars. This is more episode 1, but not canon because of its shine and reflectivity. This is canon because of its brushed aluminum, its look. It's even got the what is it, Cobra Tech belt clip. Like even the belt clip
Sure.
has got to be specific.
So I mean,
Um,
you,
but this is a Disney. You buy this at Disney, or
yeah.
you can buy a replica that's officially the same look, or you could buy whatever your style is that you just like and works for you. One of them sits at the table, one of them doesn't. So
So I mean, looking at it, the 501st, the Rebel Legion, they, they're not going to say, "Hey, I know other people who have done some cosplay stuff, right? And they've shown up and walked around conventions and everything like that, but they're not part of 501st or Rebel Legion or Mando Mercs. They're just like, hey, I threw this together. I'm having fun with it. It's not like they look down their nose at these people. They just say, hey, to be a member of what we do, there are rules, regulations, guidelines to be official, be canon, kind of certified and all that, right? I mean, it's not
yeah,
like there's a big divide. It's more of, hey, we're all pals, we're all buddies, but for what we do, the purposes we have as this nonprofit, here are the rules and things you have to follow.
yeah, I try to really be that bridge. If the empire is recruiting, we're welcoming all. You're basically doing what we're doing. There's only a slight difference in how you go about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like your costume is awesome, and you've made it yourself, man. That even better, because a lot of people you start with an ordered product to make sure you're to spec, and then you do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of customization. But a lot of the cosplayers just themselves are complete one-off fabricating their entire thing. They didn't have the $800 to $1,200 for the Innovos Stormtrooper
Mm.
plastic kit that you have to cut up and modify to fit yourself or whatever. Because some of these suits can be very expensive. I know some of the Vaders are around $3,000 or $4,000 for the screen accurate, and these are way down from what the movie cost of making these same characters. Just process is different and then streamlined for the masses. But if you're just out there at the convention and you see another Star Wars person, what's up? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, what's your favorite thing, man? So the communication is open, and the only difference is, well, let's show you how to join.
Yeah.
All you would need to do is, you see your belt. Your belt, you'd have to swap your belt out for a leather belt or a certain thing, just so that you match. Here, let's take a look at the CRLs. Oftentimes at the table, they have somebody's got a laptop or something they can pull up and show you the things that you might need to do. Sometimes just one or two. Sometimes you're already ready already,
Yeah.
and you just need to put in your paperwork and pick a username, pick a number on what your assignment, your TK number might be, or your Sith
Right.
Lord number. Each has a designation, and there's thousands of people. So it's just fine tuning your outfit so that you can be a licensed kind of representative.
So is there a and I'm pretty naive to it. Like I show up and at these events and whether it's Star Wars night at a ball game or a convention or whatever, and I'm like a little kid. I get around, I'm like, oh, I want my picture taken with them. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. But is there pretty much, at least in the 501st, we'll ask Mark here a little bit more about the Rebel Legion, and he's in England, you're in the States, so it'd be even more fun to see some differences or similarities. But in the States, is there a Nashville 501st, a Tennessee 501st, a national, a mid, whatever? Is it broken down like that, or is it you're part of the 501st and it's across the board?
Yeah, it is regionally. There's different places within the state. I'm in the Mid South Garrison,
Okay.
so it's broken up. Like this shirt right now is my Darth Maul Sith Lord shirt. So I've got a yellow and black 501st Mid South Garrison shirt, though,
Okay.
that when we go out to our local events, generally, I will wear that one because everybody's got one of those. This is when I'm being Darth Maul or representing the 501st in a greater sense.
Okay.
than just my local. All our locals are all color coordinated. We all order from the same sites, and it's a buy your own merch kind of thing. It's
Okay.
not a thing where, well, once you get in, you pay your dues and we supply you. It's none of that.
Okay.
You don't have to put in any money. If you want the shirt, you buy one of the shirts. You have to get in. You have to show your membership stuff to be
Sure.
able to get it, because it's licensed and branded, and it's for the people that are in the nonprofit. Um, but yeah, it's just a gateway, and being in the 501st, much like Mark, who's overseas, and the difference is 5 to 7 hours. We talked about this a little bit
Yeah.
pre-show, so I think he's in a little rush hour traffic, so we're waiting on him.
Yeah.
But some of the big differences, I think, that I know, because I travel globally, been to China, Ecuador, and I know that
Wow.
the London and the UK specifically, there's a lot of big Star Wars stuff over there. If you remember the first ICCC, the dewback, I think they had a big
Yeah.
dewback
Yeah.
in the core. I was like, man, it's so you get to see these big props. If you don't know, a dewback is a giant lizard that was digitally added into the episode 1-4.
Episode 4. Yeah, they
Yeah,
they they
four
had
both.
they had one sitting
Yeah,
there not moving in the original, but
yeah,
then
it's
they
just in
added
the
the
background.
digital ones for
So
the
you
New
come
Hope special edition. Yeah.
tromping in on those. So there was a full scale giant lizard thing that a human could ride on for scale. Put into a scene with some cargo netting and some props and everything that
I
made for
love
a
that.
great photo op. There was a little campfire. I think I even snuck in there and got a picture. I do the same thing. There's a bit. You got me riding a tauntaun in Ecuador. There's whoever in the area does their best to bring the Star Wars experience to that area. So the guys in the Mid South, I know there's a guy in the Chattanooga area that's got a full Clone Wars tank, a full size,
Yes. Did he have that
like
last year in the big event? Was he there? Because
I
there was an
I would think
ATST,
so. Yeah.
there was a tank,
Yeah, the
there were speeder bikes.
ATST is off scale, so it can get in the room. Speeder bikes are full scale. The tank is basically full scale. If it's not, it's really, really, really close. So it's over a regular driving vehicle. So it drives
Mhm.
around. 5 or 6 guys can stand and be aboard it. It looks like it came straight out of Rogue One. That's seen there in the
Mhm.
middle with the flotilla or whatever. But
Well, I tell you what, the good thing is with us recording this now, I've got pictures of the last 2 years of ICCC, so I will be able to lay those in for our YouTube listeners or followers and drop these in. So not only the
fantastic.
picture of you, but the picture of the tank and the ATST and the dewback, because they had him there sitting around a fire with Jawas, if I'm not mistaken, at
Hmm.
one of those things. So hey,
Yeah,
it looks like we're going to have our other guests show up here. So we'll
great.
continue this fun. So we are adding in our good friend from across the pond, Mr. Mark Mulcaster. Mark, we Rick and I have been talking here for a little bit. How are you doing? Hopefully, rush hour wasn't too bad.
I mean, I thought I gave myself enough time to get back, so I left at 3, and it's now 20 to 6.
Oh,
So London traffic. So
That's it. Hello, Mark. Nice to meet you, sir.
yeah, and you, Rick, how you doing? You all right?
Doing well, thank you.
Good.
Mark, we're going to have to get you connected with Rick because we were just talking about it. I remember watching the Journey to the Dark Side movie that they fan film they put together for 2023 at
Mm.
ICCC, and then the sequel is coming out this year. Are you releasing the sequel at ICCC, Rick?
Yeah, I know Adam is working on it actively. We filmed in the cave system near Knoxville for our parts with me and several of the other actors in October of last year. So he's definitely into the edit, and hopes to have everything ready for the audience in October at ICCC.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, we have been talking a ton about the 501st. As you can see, Rick does a mean Darth Maul right there. That's how I first
Yeah.
met him, was a few years ago in his Darth Maul get up, and it was awesome. Um, Mark, let's add you in, and you're part of the Rebel Legion. Are there other groups that you're part of as well?
Yeah, so primarily Rebel Legion. So I'm the base commanding officer for Elstree Base, which is the UK Rebel base. Mando Mercs 501st UK Garrison, and Sabre Guild. So we
yeah.
we cover
Saber
everything.
Guild is something that I wish that we had local to me.
Right, yeah.
Finding somebody to duel or do the work with when we're not doing the choreography for the filming, which was intense. But where's everybody in the downtime when we're not getting ready to film? So
Exactly.
that's awesome. I'm happy to hear you've got a variety of allegiances. I was talking earlier, saying I may be about to swap over and join the Rebel Legion myself.
Cool.
It takes Darth Maul 2 hours to get into makeup and an hour to scrub it all off. It's all alcohol based makeup, and I wear it all day long.
To be fair, man, that's pretty quick because some of our guys, they take about 4 hours to get into their malls. You know.
Yeah. Fortunately, it's one of those. I've been doing it for 25 years, and it's a little bit of muscle memory in the mirror. I do myself, and I've made a little crown, a little appliance, so it's half a little bald cap to help speed that up. But yeah, after that, and the removal takes another hour to scrub it off. So when everybody's going to dinner, I either have to scrub it all or I get to go eat as Maul, which is usually how I do because I want to hang out with the friends.
Exactly.
So I'm definitely changing over to a bike trooper, but I'm a redhead. I'm a ginger, so I was maybe going to pick up Cal Kestis.
Yep, perfect.
Because in high school we look exactly the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you catch me with my high school haircut, oops.
Yeah. Well, one, I can't wait to see you again at ICCC this year, and can't wait to when you release the Scout when you do that, and we'll wait for the announcement if you're going to pull off the Cal Kestis, because that'll be pretty cool. Mark, as far as you and the multiple groups you're part of, what are some of the characters that you go as in these events?
So I've got an Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett with the Mando Mercs and the 501st. I've got a TK, a Stormtrooper, A&H stunt as well. X-Wing pilot, Resistance pilot, and the Jedi currently with Rebels. I've had others cleared and then retired, and I'm currently working on an Endor trooper as well. So,
wow.
Enough.
How is the Rebel Legion by contrast, if you don't mind me asking, being a different organization? Are they pretty closely paired, or is it completely separate over there?
Well, over here, in terms of a relationship, or just so I've been doing this since 2007, and as with everything with clubs and politics, sometimes the clubs work more closely together than other times. But we're in a really good kind of position at the moment where everybody, all the clubs, so we've got a very small kind of like Dark Empire representation. Sabre Guild, in fact, they were only created primarily for Celebration Europe last year. So the October before, that's when they started recruiting. So they kind of got that tempo up really quickly, and I suppose it's partly advantageous because you can clear both 501st costumes with that, as well as like Rebel Legion costumes. You might have to do a little bit of modifications to allow for freedom of movement with like saber combat and stuff. So they kind of they got up together pretty quick. But yeah, I mean, we try now to kind of share all the events pretty much. I'm currently working on a big one for the end of the year, MCM Birmingham, which is run by Reed Pop. And so that's going to be, that's kind of sharing all the information and trying to make sure that every club has the same amount of representation, or as best as they can, if that makes sense. So, the 501st and us, we've got bigger sets and props and stuff. So we need to make sure that Dark Empire and, the Mando Mercs aren't kind of like swallowed up. So everybody has an equal kind of like footing, or at least that's the that's utopian hope anyway. So
I have a question for both of you because, during Mando, the big story was during Mandalorian, they brought in a whole bunch of 501st, right? Wasn't it 501st that they brought in to be the troopers in there? Do each of you sit there in the back of your head and saying, I'm ready for my call if one of these Disney Plus series needs some extra people? I mean, because now, let's face it, they've got an easy way to go to get these massive armies built or coverage of extras and everything like that, which they didn't used to have years ago. Now it's flip a switch. People are like, yeah, I'm there. I'll be there all day. What do I need to do?
Are
Which,
you close to Pinewood, Mark? Are you?
Yeah, I'm not too far. Yeah, about within an hour. And we had UK Garrison members who were stormtroopers in the Force Awakens, and they've done and also like because the European and Middle East headquarters are in London as well. So like if you I don't know if you saw just before the Acolyte, they did a kind of like a social media kind of campaign, shall we say, with Kalnaka outside London Eye, and there's still Jedi around it. That was us. I was one of those Jedi and stuff. So, so we get the call every now and again, and it's always super last minute. Like that was, the call was on the Friday to get everybody organised, and then we were there the following like Tuesday, Wednesday. So, it's and that's the thing. Like when you get those opportunities, you basically just have to down tools and just hope your bosses kind of are okay with it. So.
Yeah, that is the nature of production. Not by my choice, but is how it goes a lot of time, where it is very last minute. You then are very a lot more close to the ability to get picked up than I am. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, which puts me 11 hours driving across the United States to get to Burbank or wherever they might be filming. But the guys in LA who are out in LA that are in the 501st that have their gear that are close enough to the studio proximity wise, like yourself, are able to, at that call's notice, depending, be able to be picked up for those shots. We come in and get the same evaluation and make sure that you're to spec. And then, then you follow set direction. So that's cool. That's awesome to hear your experience and being able to be in some of those promotions, Mark. Being that close is really, really fun.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose that's the thing with like the UK is that like even if you were, unless you're kind of really up in the Highlands of Scotland, everything's probably drivable. Like you could get, if you're in Wales, you could drive over to London, and even if you're kind of up, the lower end of Scotland, it's probably maybe a 4-hour train like journey or maybe a 6-hour drive. So it's not too bad. It's just it's obviously being able to do it and having the free time and stuff. But it's good because I work in film and TV, so I understand the deal and that. So it's it's all good fun. So
yeah, same here. So just as a side note, I'll happily hop on a plane and fly with my stuff. So it's not prohibitive, but the scope of the U.S. versus where you are is just scale prohibitive if you're not living or ready to travel, and they want locals. Because the schedule is so all over the place and at a moment's notice, and the same for cancellation. And they're not going to pay for someone to fly over when they've got somebody right there in the town.
Well, this is it. Like, even when we do the stuff for the premieres and that, they've always been very much like, we give you the tickets and you come and turn up and do stuff, but we're not covering accommodation, we're not covering travel and stuff like that. And again, like all these kind of like social media kind of these small little campaigns about they're not big budgets, they're pretty quick turnaround, and so they just want to kind of get volunteers, and to be fair, honestly, they do pay us for that kind of that work, but we're not being kind of like paid like loads for it, but at least enough to cover expenses and stuff.
So one of the things that I definitely wanted to ask you both about was, with them being nonprofits, with you guys being so involved with different charity kind of things, how does that work? Like, I know I was mentioning to Rick earlier, like every team across the United States now does a Star Wars night, right? And they invite in people from Rebel Legion or 501st or what have you to come and be a part of that evening. But that of course is taking your time out of your day to go and do this kind of stuff. And I know it's great because the kids love it and the fans love it and all that stuff. But whether it's something like that or whether it's something like going to a con where you're there as part of that group, how does the fundraising build off of that? Like, do people make donations to you instead of paying the 501st? Like, hey, we're paying you this much to be here. Is it more like donations where then you turn around and give it to the not the foundations you're involved with, or and maybe it's different in each area? A 501st, Rebel Legion, US, UK. Either one of you hop in there and jump in. Kind of how does some of that work so people know?
Go on, Rick.
Right on. Well, here in the United States, the nonprofits in general are all structured or should be structured the same way. Any inbound capital would go directly to the foundation through the proper chain or avenue. Most of that would be done on the website.
Okay.
You can in-kind donate, and all that information is available on the website. I started the thing, Mark, with I'm not a holocron of 501st or that
Okay.
information.
Yeah.
If you really want to know the details, you hop online, you go check it out, and put your research in from the proper chain. But all of the money goes where it's supposed to in the network. That's something that I vet out before I join any organization as well. Being a part of different nonprofits or different boards for different things around. You just have to make sure that the funds are being distributed properly. So they go in the right door,
Sure.
and then they get distributed internally, and then
I guess I
back
was
out.
looking at. I guess I was looking at like, do you as a group, or do each individual group like choose and say, here are the organizations that we want to donate to or be involved with or things like that. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I was trying to. Look, the money thing. I ran a nonprofit for 7 to 10 years. I believe me, I know all the paperwork, all the dot your I's, cross your T's. I get all that. I just didn't know if, like you mentioned earlier, Rick, you would go to like a hospital and see, people there, and like I said, these are different events. But is there like a certain criteria to where people can come to you and say, we want the 501st, or do you donate to certain charities, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so on that side, yes, there are yeses and nos that have to be given to if, hey, can we get the 501st to come out to my kid's birthday party? Like generally in our area, that's not an approved 501st venue. And so that would be a no. But those are answered through the chain. So what happens then is when that request comes in, it goes through the protocol. So there's a CEO, a COO, there's all these different people in the organization that are responsible for determining that internally. So it goes in the machine, and then there's an acceptance or denial based on, is it something that Lucasfilm, Disney proper has said, yes, this is an event that you can, or no, it's not an event that you can't. And so those are things that have to be individually looked at, but are done so by the people in the organization who are voted for by the members of that community. So we hold votes for who's doing what in the organization. In the 501st, we have all these, annual or quarterly census counts and voting and things, just to make sure there's some representative who goes and looks and makes sure that the rules are followed. If that's what you mean on the where can we go to this children's hospital or this Weird Al Yankovic concert. So, and what about you, Mark? Is it different in the UK? Is it the same kind of mechanism inside?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty similar, to be fair. Yeah. So how it works with us. So I'm part of the 501st. I'm part of the national events team. So we're the ones who kind of put on and manage the larger events. So like big conventions. So like a MCM, like a big Reed Pop type thing. And then with Rebel Legion, I kind of, as the base commanding officer, my team is doing a lot of that stuff, but I'm there to kind of oversee, but also I kind of look after events in the Southeast and London. So primarily over here we kind of get like two types of events. You either get ones where we can collect actually at the event. So literally it could be, buckets, and that may be because we've got props there. So like if we've got the Garrison speeder bike, then it's like,
Sure.
sit on the bike. And, if you want a photo, absolutely, that's cool. If you want to donate for us, that's even better. Or the other one is then like we would, sometimes people are like, can we donate for you to appear at our event? And assuming that it meets the correct kind of like standards and stuff, then we say, yeah, sure. And what we do is, so we don't touch the money. We've got like a Just Giving page for one of our charities, so they can just donate directly to that. And then it goes directly to the charity. Just because, because it is that whole thing, like, because over here, like the clubs aren't, other than the Mando Mercs, which is different, but like the Garrison and the Elstree base and that, we aren't like considered a non-profit in the legal sense in the UK. We are in the US, but those kind of like all that paperwork doesn't apply over here, and it's like it's too much hassle. And for us to do it, it's fine for the US like as a whole to do it, but like to then get every single base or garrison to do it in their own countries would just wouldn't, it would be kind of quite a large undertaking, because some bases and garrisons aren't that big. You know, we're quite lucky, we've got quite a few members, where others just aren't that big. So, you know, primarily we look at, is this a charity event? You know, and can we support that charity? I.e., can we, you know, are they asking us to be able to do something that, you know, we're comfortable doing or is within our kind of mandate? And then otherwise it's like, well, if it's a commercial event, then that's when we, you know, you have to start getting into either introducing them to Lucasfilm or just kind of like getting the full kind of information as to what the event is, and then whether or not we make the call. But you know, it's cool.
Yeah, no, I look, I mean, I didn't want to get too much in the weeds, but I wanted people to know, like, there's a lot that goes into all this, right? I mean, a lot of people just think you guys just show up with your outfits, costumes, everything else, and hey, okay, see you later. And what I wanted people to know from this show was the structure and the time and everything like that goes into it.
So let's say, so for example, a couple of weekends' time, Star Wars is being shown on the UK cinemas. They're doing one release a week for the next 10 weeks or something. Because they're doing all the films except for Solo. Don't get me started. But yeah, right. So we got an email from an independent, like single screen cinema in a town close by to us. I'm like, you know, it'd be great for us to get some Star Wars characters, at least for the first film, you know, just to kind of make it a bit more of an event, which is fine. That's all good. But then the thing is, I have to then obviously post up on the forum with all the information and make sure the information's correct. So is there changing? Because we don't do an event over here unless there's secure changing for our members to go and change away from the public, so they can put on their Darth Maul costumes and makeup, or Leia can do her buns and stuff without kind of the public prying, because ultimately it's that whole, you want that kind of like distance between like the guys who are dragging in the big boxes with the plastic armor in, and then come out.
Yeah, the movie magic part of it. You
exactly,
keep the man behind the curtain, as it were.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the whole kind of the whole mystique. So therefore, you know, I actually, you know, and we don't tend to have to do this very often, but like, because it's quite a small, unique cinema. It was built in the like 1900s. I had to go there, you know, make sure that there was adequate change in space, but also because it's really old, is there enough like access for like for stormtroopers to get up and down the stairs, and you know how steep are the stairs, how many stairs and stuff, and you have to take all that into consideration, because there's nothing worse than turning up an event and they say, oh yeah, you've got secure changing, and then you're changing in a broom cupboard or like an office, and it's, you know, and the thing is, you know, some of our members will be very amenable and will kind of get along and just do it. Others will just say, do you know what, sorry, we can't change it. And that's the last thing we want to do, is to kind of actually arrive at an event and then say it's not going to work. But normally, you know, I say 96% of the time it's totally fine, and it's only 4% that, you know, there might be a few kind of like grumbles, but we have to put all those kind of like checks and balances in place to make sure that we're, as a command team, we're providing all the correct information for the members, and the event is structured in a way that they are used to, and that they come to expect a level of, you know, provisions in terms of changing. What's the deal with like parking? You know, is it paid? Do you have to go and put a ticket on your windscreen? All this kind of stuff, because the amount of times we do like May the 4th is a classic one. We'd go and do May the 4th at a toy store, and then 6 weeks later, everybody gets parking tickets because it's like a, you know, automatic registration thing, and the store manager hasn't passed on the registration plates and stuff like that. So it's all these little things, you know, and that's before you even get into costume. And then what happens if your costume has a malfunction, and you know, how do you manage that? And you know, so it's lots of things to kind of think about and consider, you know.
Yeah, safety is a big part of that. You mentioned the stairs specifically. If you aren't aware, if you're new to Star Wars and you're not sure what it is, you can see some of these incidents happen on screen where people are bumping their heads or stumbling and tripping over things. So safety is a thing, especially when your vision is restricted inside of a helmet. Your vision is just impaired. Your movement is impaired, and now you've got new dimensions. So you're talking hallways or stairs that might be too narrow for Vader to walk straight forward because his shoulder, armor is too wide. So he'd have to pivot. And is it safe for him to pivot? Is it comfortable? What's the heat like? What's the temperature? Has everybody got water? There's a lot of things that have to go into it.
I'd imagine, like in Tennessee, it probably gets pretty toasty, So
nightmarishly hot with the humidity is the worst part of it. It's always like 1,000% humidity. So that's the reason I always do alcohol-based makeup, because you're just in Tennessee, you're gonna sweat unless it's off season in the wintertime, which is great. But then your alcohol is very cold. Anytime the wind blows, it's twice as cold. So, but yeah, man, you got to look out for your people. But the biggest thing that you could do, that I would say, to the point of your initial question, is just ask. Fill out a questionnaire, submit a request form, ask the people at the booth, and you can get the information. If the person there that's wearing the 501st shirt doesn't know, they will ask the person in the organization or relay your information, have someone get back to you.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So looking back at the years now that you guys, I mean, I know, Rick, you've been doing it a shorter amount of time. Mark's been doing it a little bit longer amount of time. But over this time span, are there certain events that you have just been, whether events or meetups or whatever, that you've sat there and pinched yourself and been like, this has been just a great event? Like, you're putting in work, you're putting in time and effort to do the things you're doing, but you walk away and you're sitting there going, man, that was either, it blew me away, it was really cool, or it was just special because of the people that were there. Anything? Are there certain events that stand out to you, either one so far, that you're looking back and going, I'm glad I was part of this organization to be a part of this or that happened?
On you, Mark. Go ahead.
Thanks. I mean, it's the thing is that the obvious ones is like the 100 character parade we did before the opening of The Force Awakens at the Leicester Square premiere, but that's like, that's the 10% of events. The rest of them are, they're hospital visits. They're doing stuff like, we do one called the Dream Flight Send Off. So Dream Flight is a charity that I think with the Rebel Legion, they've collected ever since I've been a member. And what they do is they pay, and they have a whole 747 jumbo jet, which has been stripped out and fitted out for children who either got wheelchairs or who have got like loads of different medical conditions. And they basically collect money every year to take children to Florida for 2 weeks, to Disneyland in about end of October. So it's coming up, actually. Got to put it live on the boards. And it's like, and that's one of those troops that you don't get to actually see the effect that's is happening on the kids, but most of them haven't been away from their families. Most of them haven't been away from the UK before. So then when we're there and, they get off the coach and they're all a little bit nervous and they see kind of semi-familiar faces in respect to like Star Wars characters, even if it is like a 6'6" Darth Vader looming over them, there's something familiar there. And so that immediately kind of gets them to relax. So that's all. And that's always a really fun troop. It's always kind of, I think a lot of the members look forward to that one. And so it's stuff like that. But then also the other side of it is the social aspect. It's my partner, Karen, she's been doing it for about over 10 years. And, she's not really a huge Star Wars fan, but she's there for the social. So whenever we can do a convention where we can do like an evening meal or some kind of party afterwards, that's a big thing for her. So you kind of find for different members, it's different things. And it could sometimes just be because we've gone and supported their kids, like school summer fete. And that's meant a lot to them personally. So, there's loads of different things that I think matters to different members for different reasons. So, which is, I think, the beauty of like what we do.
Gotcha. Rick, how about you?
Yeah, I think, you're able to have some access if you're fortunate enough to align with the timing and the location to be a part of a bigger event, to your point. But sometimes it's the more intimate smaller things. Like you said, 90% is not the big giant once a year or so thing. The rest is these local independent visits, or even the cons themselves. Meeting people is a special part, but having those moments in character helps give a bit of a shield,
Sure.
because some of these moments are very emotional. The a couple of Make-A-Wish things that I've been a part of, and you know that these are last requests. Effectively, you're making a wish happen, and then sometimes they're not, and the miraculous happens. But being able to be that face, that recognizable familiar, even if you are the bad guy, and sometimes that's, as the little kid, I didn't want Duke to show up. I wanted Cobra Commander. I didn't want Luke to show up. I wanted Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you get the kids on the bad guy side that want the bad guys, and then sometimes you got that little kid that wants to see Rey come out, the hope, the light, the good side, and then you're able to, on either side of that fence, be able to get those intimate moments. So some of those are the best to me, where you're just really connecting. And then I feel myself in the audience in Empire. You know, those little things where you're like, there's the reason I do this. Like your wife loves the socials, or your partner loves the socials. For me, it's those little connection moments, because I've dressed up for so long that's fun. I love it. But the reason behind it, I think, is more important sometimes.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, spot on. I mean, this is it. One of the things that I found as I kind of took on a command role in the base, and started doing events, and then now run the base, and that is actually the priority for me isn't necessarily am I having a good time. It's about the members having a good time. And because ultimately, if I can ensure that the members have a good time, they're far more kind of like impactful than that. I mean, we've done Make-A-Wish fulfillments as well, and I mean, there's been like funeral requests as well, which is even harder, And luckily, most of those are they go to the 501st, so at least the guys are wearing Stormtrooper armor for the most part, so they can't see anything. But there's been a couple of times when they have asked for rebel pilots and stuff like that, and that's tough, because it's not normally going to be a funeral request for an adult. It's normally for a child, and that. So you I think it brings it all home. But then you kind of go and you go, well, next week is a convention, and we can raise money for Make-A-Wish or Dreamflight or another charity, and then you can go, well, hopefully then that money will make a difference further down the line, which you'll never know, but you just hope that's where it's where it's going to be needed. So
I want people to know that there's plenty of positive stuff too. It's definitely not all of these just pressure or emotional situations that you get into with the hospitals or things like that. There's plenty of hilarity and fun for the other side, where you are raising and you're getting just the awareness side out. So for the people looking to join, you get to choose how you fill your calendar if you become a part of any of these organizations. So if one part of it is not quite fit your personal dynamic and how you choose and what you want to be a part of, then you just go and you support the other part of. There's plenty of things that need to be done both inside and outside the organization.
And also you get a different experience depending on the costume. Like, if you're
completely
open face, you get a different you have a different kind of connection to, like, if I'm wearing my Boba Fett or Stormtrooper. And the amount of times I still forget that people can't see me and I'm smiling, in a photo in my Fett. You're just going to go, what are you doing? But then, it's nice, because then, nobody can kind of like call you out on it. So, it's
and some of them, I've got an Embo bounty hunter that you just don't talk, or you talk in non universal basic. You don't have to interact, and so you've got this little bit of a buffer between you. I love the Mandos, where a lot of theirs are pre-programmed. So some of the people have these canned auto responses, which is great too. You just get to pick, and you don't. But even in the bucket behind, sometimes making the mad face or smiling behind for no good reason.
Yeah.
Except for the feeling that you have inside. You're just still trying to bring that character to life, even if it makes no difference.
Can
But
you
it does to the
go ahead.
audience, though. Great
Well,
performers are great performers.
I would say they can sense it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you guys? I won't keep you much longer, so I appreciate the time. But um, like, I sit there and I think to myself, and I talk to the guys. Yeah, we do a weekly podcast, and we talk mostly about Star Wars, and but we talk about other fun things. But do you sometimes just pinch yourself and think this thing that was started back in 1977 still has people building, there's still community building going on. There's still friendships being made. There's still, positivity coming out of something that was just an idea that showed up when we were either little kids or, we grew up with our entire life. Like I talked to D Doc, who's one of our regular hosts, and he lives in Philadelphia. And how do we, it's so weird to think about making friends or making contacts and being part of a community when you're an adult, right? Like, you seem like you build that up in school and who you grew up around or whatever, but then to be in an organization like you guys are, or in the community we're in, that you could be in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s and meet somebody and connect with people just through things like this. I mean, I think this is a great thing for people who are out there who love Star Wars, who love entertaining, who love being a part of things. You're right. People should look into this and look into what it takes to become part of this and know it's going to take a lot of effort. But I think you guys have hit it pretty well. There's a lot of great benefits from being in a group like this.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think the benefits outweigh the struggle, shall we say? But the thing is, that's we've got members over here who we have like what we call crew members in Rebel Legion, and they are basically here to support the event. So they're the ones who are looking out to make sure Jawas don't trip over like curbs and stuff like that. And you'll be surprised how often they fall flat on their face. But the thing is, and fair play to them because they tend to bounce pretty well. But and these are members who, for whatever reason, maybe it's because their partner is the one who's into the costume inside, but they want to be involved as well, and so they can come along, they can help us with that. Like one of our our webmaster and who looks after our website and forum, she's not a full member as well. She's just a crew member, but that's how she gives to the club because she does all the tech stuff. One of your like the roles in the club is called a base membership officer, and they're kind of there to look after the like costume admin and also welcome new members. And that's elsewhere done by a fantastic woman called Empathy, who hasn't left her house since the pandemic for a number of medical reasons, And so she makes costumes, and she's a brilliant seamstress. She's fully trained and stuff as well. So like she can look at a costume on screen and will tell you how it's constructed, which is a skill in itself. And, she does all this stuff, but she unfortunately doesn't get the rewards of actually being able to wear it. But she loves it, because it's something that she can do, and she can feel like she's still giving back to the club by doing that. So, there's obviously different ways that, each different clubs have other avenues rather than just having to necessarily wear the costume. But let's face it, wearing the costume's a fun bit, So that's cool.
Even at the table, you can wear a costume and show that you're a part of the team, even if it's just your crew shirt.
Exactly.
Because it does. How is Vader going to match? Even Vader's got his stormtrooper, so he's got his extra hands too. So having the handlers, like you said, for the more complicated costumes or the long drapes, the Emperor, his robes are generally long enough to catch that foot the same kind of way. So big thanks to all the handlers, the people that work the tables through the cons, the admins, all the people on the backside that build and run and do the website and the calendars. There is a spot for you in pretty much any part. But to your point, it is the thing that bound us to it. And there's something new coming along, and then there's something historical that might pick your interest. I got a lot of people in my age range that are real big fans of Andor that came out because of it's a little more heady. Yeah, there's a lot more political, and the dynamic, it's not so action based. But there's plenty of action. So if you guys haven't seen Andor, check that out. But it brought in a whole new different tier of fan base. Acolyte, we've been able to have the conversation online with people who either loved or hated, and that conversation is even one that's engaging, and you can have. So there's a reason to be able to get into Star Wars if it's your thing, and if not, and it's your spouse's thing, which is how it is in our household. Then there's a reason for you to help and be part of a community, and it's a very welcoming thing to anybody who has any interest in it. It doesn't take having to be a master builder to join. Just come check it out. Just come talk to one of us.
Okay. I do have a question. So even something, and we've been talking about tons of live action. I know Rick, you and I talked a little bit about Clone Wars version of Darth Maul and so forth, but I hadn't even thought about this till now. Is there a division that's related only to either the animated side or to like High Republic, which is right now just in the novels with a little bit of the Young Jedi Adventures, or do they fall into, let's say you want to be a Hera, that would fall into the Rebel Legion. If you want to be from the High Republic, that follows into
Rebel Legion.
Rebel Legion as well. So okay, that's I wasn't sure if it was a different breakdown on that as well. Since we had Mando Mercs.
I mean, this is a fun thing actually, and something that I've seen, like again over the course of time, is that the amount of different clubs that have popped up, and there is a specific High Republic costume club that I met at Celebration last year. Never heard of them before, and I was like, oh, that's really fantastic, But also at the same time, you can wear a like a High Republic costume. You can get it cleared for Rebel Legion. That would come under the Jedi detachment.
Okay.
And then like your animated clone troopers would come under just your troopers. So, there's normally the kind of detachments are fairly broad, but like especially with the RL where you've got like loads of different classifications, somebody will fit underneath one. But like, you take Hera, for example, she's kind of like she's got her main kind of detachment, and then she's got a secondary one, which is obviously an officer because she's an officer. She's like General Syndulla. So, and that's the same with some of, I'd guess, most of the 501st and that, where you may have some of that, like, Conway's crossovers, which means you just get double the merch opportunities to buy, patches from like 2 different detachments and stuff. So,
Yeah, they fall through the mechanics of the machine to get into their category, and it's updated all the time. So when the new Mando show came out, it was updating. Here's the new things, and then they would go into the different categories. Same thing. There's a whole droid building side of things too. So if you've got your IG-11 or your IG-88 or your R2s, those are depending on what their purpose is at any given time in the show and the one you're building from which show, they would also fall into a different category. So trying to chase down Imbo and his allegiance was kind of fun because he's a bounty hunter, so he's in the bounty hunters, but sometimes he's working for which side. So I try to just, you can look, most of the times you find it in the CRL. There's a search bar. You go in and look, where does this character pop up, and it'll show you which category they're in. You'd be like, oh, he's in here with all these other people.
It's like you take Din Djarin, for example, and I don't think it's changed, but like the very first season 1 costume up to when he changes as Pauldron, he's 501st, and then after that he's in Rebel Legion as well.
Wow.
So
he's working for one side during season 1, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's because at that point we don't know where he is, and there's this big debate about but he could just sell out Baby Yoda by the end of season 1, so we don't want to put him into the good guys and then have to kind of backtrack. And
wow.
But, that's the difference, because if you imagine, right, these clubs were set up when we had really only the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, really, and the allegiances for all those characters were fairly black and white, pretty much. So it was very easy to kind of start putting people into places. You take something like Andor, and people's allegiances can change within the course of an episode. So it's making it so much more interesting to to have these kind of conversations and healthy debates, shall we say, as to who gets to get what character, because ultimately that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to cool characters in their club. So
Yeah, where does Luke go when he's in the stormtrooper helmet?
yeah,
it's one of those. It's a fun question to be able
it.
to ask.
Yeah, we don't approve Luke Skywalker in stormtrooper disguise in the RL, and
Right.
Wow.
but you can clear as Luke Skywalker stormtrooper in the 501st with all the belt and the hook and stuff. And
Wow.
Yeah, you got to be accurate.
Skywalker, like pre-Order 66 is Rebel Legion, and then you put in some yellow contacts, and he's 501st. It's like
Yeah, the linens and the belts and certain parts, the earrings. There's the details are what sets you. 3PO specifically, the joints and knuckles. It seems like he's the same in most every episode, but he's not. Every little detail seems to change per movie.
Yeah,
it's so much to think about. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Well,
what would you
go ahead.
do, Joey? What?
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's probably going to be a clone, isn't it? Probably.
Well, you know what? I think there's three different things that I would want to be. Three different ones. One, I'd like to be a Jedi. I think that would be cool. With Obi-Wan and the prequel Obi-Wan, really got attracted to that segment. The second one would be something similar to Rex. Yes, I love Rex.
Yep.
And the third one would be a biker scout from Return of the Jedi. Those are like my favorite troopers. So if I had to choose, it would be those three. I think any of those three. So yeah.
Well, I've got an extra trooper helmet here. So yeah, I have to make sure, see what your head size is, and make get you started.
I'll try it on when I come down for ICCC. How's that? See if it makes sense. Guys, like I said, don't mean to cut it short. Just trying to fit in a special show here today while I had some time and while each of you had time. I can't thank you both enough. I'll start with you, Rick. Rick, where's the best place? And I'll put this, when we tag it out on social and everything, but where's the best place for people to follow you, track you down, see what you do, all that kind of stuff?
Well, fortunately, I've made it simple, and you can just look me up at Rick Prince, my first and last name. Pretty much every social media website, everything, just at Rick Prince. Instagram is really probably the best place because I'm the most active, maybe there. But Facebook, TikTok, X, I think, is still going. I don't post there very often, but yeah, just at Rick Prince. Love to hear from you.
You got it. And also, people to go check out Journey to the Dark Side and the sequel, which is Ascension, coming out.
Correct.
Soon.
Looking forward to seeing that myself.
You got it. Mark, I know you and I bug you all the time, but where's the best place for people to track you down and tell them about, making tracks, staying at the tracks, all that kind of stuff?
So you can hear me if you really, really have to on Making Tracks, which comes out on the Fan for Tracks website and on all good podcast avenues, most Tuesdays and sometimes Fridays, and most often Wednesdays if there's a live show on. And you can hit me up also on Instagram. I'm pretty much mainly active on Instagram these days. So that's I'm just having to double check actually. It's markbase_81. So not quite as easy as Rick's handle, but there you go. And of course, if you want to follow Rebel Legion Elstree Base, that's at Rebel Legion UK, anywhere where there's a social media, and obviously 501st and rebellegion.com for all your costume and information for both the clubs, so
awesome. Well, I thank you guys both for taking the special time out. Rick, I know middle of the day for you, work day. Mark, I know craziness with rush hour traffic. Like I said, we spend so much time chasing and talking about the new show or the new upheaval of people being angry with each other. I thought it would be a really good thing with both of you and knowing both of you, your involvement with these groups, that it would just be a good time to talk about them, let more people know about them, and where to go to get involved. So thank you guys both for your time and for sharing all that.
I appreciate it. It's a success because I'm interested in connecting with Mark. I'll hit you up on the socials, man. Just reach out. I'd love to see what you're working on. If we got some friends over there that may be local to you.
Yeah, well, and of course, at any time you guys are in the UK, you are more than welcome at any of our events. You know, that goes for you as well, Joe. Don't you worry.
Hey, I'll come and tag along. I'll tag along.
Don't you worry. So
You got it. You
same
got
thing.
it.
Hope to see you in the U.S. sometime.
yeah.
You got it.
All
Thanks
right.
so much, guys. And you know what? Special edition of Rule the Galaxy. And until next week, may the Force be with you.